Today I want to talk about Tesla and give some delayed thoughts on their earnings report and conference call. And just to start it all off, I think Tesla did an amazing job this quarter. Records all around, you can just see that visually from hypercharts, and I think this really is a turning point coming out of 2020 into 2021 with hopefully fewer black swan events such as the pandemic, and hopefully it is a much easier year in which for Tesla to dominate. So let's get started. My first takeaway was how Tesla talked about guidance, or more the lack thereof, their immediate discussion of guidance. So Tesla did not specifically put a vehicle production and delivery number in the earnings report. And I know this was maybe one of Wall Street's first gripes and what sent the stock down lower, along with margins and other numbers that may have come in a little under expectations. But my reaction when I first saw it was 50%. That made my jaw drop. They said they will maintain in excess of 50% or approximately 50% vehicle production growth over many years to come. I don't think people understand how incredible of a number that is. Elon was previously targeting about 30 to 40, maybe 45%, but to raise it up to 50, to show a lot of confidence in their ability to be able to produce that many vehicles, even coming off such a large base, is amazing. While it might not surprise people that in 2021, Tesla will be producing more than 750,000 cars coming out of 2020 with 500,000, I think Wall Street and even retail investors are going to be shocked when they are delivering 50% more cars each year, subsequently, even 3 years from now. And of course, they're not going to be able to maintain 50% compound annual growth rate for more than, I'd say, about 5 years. Probably towards the end of the decade, we will see that slow down. But if you really think about it, and this is something that I don't think many people have brought up, Tesla's limiting factor is not their own battery production. Right now, it's the battery production of other third parties. But Tesla's bringing their own battery production, the 4680s, online. Tesla's limiting factor is the summation of all the batteries for which they can lay claim to. So it's the 3 terawatt hours, I believe I'm getting that right, of their own internal production by the year 2030, plus all the other batteries in the world they can possibly get other third parties to produce. So Tesla is not going to be limited to 20 million cars. I believe they said the 3 terawatt hours on battery day would be enough for a 20 million car run rate. But what people do not understand is what Elon said so strongly on the conference call. We need more batteries. We are so supply constrained. Everyone that makes batteries needs to make more of them, and we will buy them from you at reasonable prices. We will be your biggest customer. And that really shows that Tesla, in my opinion, is absolutely sandbagging the 20 million car produced number, and we could see it even higher than 30 million maybe. Of course, it may come down to demand at that point, but we'll get into that a little later. Anyway, to wrap up this point, I think Tesla's long-term guidance is huge, and I think their supply constraint is really the biggest limiting factor at this point, as it has been previously. But I think once Tesla is able to ramp up their own cell production and other suppliers do as well, I think we will see Tesla really take off. As Elon said, 2021 is going to be a breakout year for Tesla, and 2022 is going to be absolutely monstrous. Alright, second point I would like to talk about is the new Model S and X Plaid, Not So Plaid, and Plaid Plus coming into production. I made a video a while back saying Tesla and Elon Musk are wrong about not refreshing the S and X, and I know some people were upset about that video, but the fact is you cannot have your flagship cars with older designs and worse interiors. I know interiors are subjective, however, as well as worse technology than your much cheaper entry-level cars. And I think that was definitely the problem for Tesla in 2019 and 2020, maybe even in 2018. I know some people love the Model S and X interior with the vertical, not horizontal touchscreen, but the fact is the battery technology was just not there, and many other aspects of the cars, such as the HVAC system, maybe even the sound system, were just not as well integrated as I believe they are in the 3 and the Y. So Tesla finally stepped up. They redesigned the Model S and the X, and I think they did a great job. A lot of new advancements as well. They kept the secondary screen and even added a third in the back row. So I think what they did here is absolutely wonderful, and I think it's going to sell very well. Maybe it won't have a material impact on the business, but I think they absolutely knocked it out of the park. I think they're doing a great job. If this costs them a lot in R&D to make this happen, I think this is well worth it. They have so much in the bank, nearly 20 billion, and I think maintaining a premium brand image for their luxury cars is an absolute must. So I'm very happy they chose to do that. It is still the 1865 cells, but it's a more advanced version, Elon said, and over time they will shift that to unifying these cells as the production ramps up and they're able to unify across the lineup. And I found it interesting that for point number 3, I'll talk about how Elon said on the conference call that Tesla is basically worth $1 trillion in his opinion because of their ability to sell the software FSD bundles on top of the cars, how that could be $50 billion at a 20 PE would be $1 trillion company. And I think it's just really one of the first times he's tried to justify the valuation. And I think there's a lot of pressure on him and on the company to be able to prove that Tesla is where it is supposed to be, especially in a stock market and market cap terms. So yeah, I found it very interesting. I think he's very spot on with not really taking a look at solar yet, although solar had an absolutely incredible quarter in Q4, really blew me away with their deployments. But getting back to the point I was making, Elon knows analysts are focused on the car business because that is the biggest part of it, just like Apple's biggest business is the iPhone business. But anyway, analysts are now starting to take into account how Tesla is able to sell high margin software packages with full self-driving and how that could justify Tesla's valuation alone at $1 trillion. And what I'm about to say is absolutely not financial advice, but I do believe Tesla, barring any really unforeseen challenges, will definitely become a $1 trillion company this year. That would be a little over the $1,000 mark, I'm not exactly sure, but I do think Tesla is a $1 trillion company in their core business today. I think the factories they have coming online will really start to justify that even more, and I think Tesla is just in a better place than they ever have been. I feel like I say that every quarter, but it really is true. Alright, we got a Cybertruck update for my 4th point here. And basically they said they're not going to do any Cybertrucks until 2022 in volume production. And maybe some people think they're sandbagging this. I do not. I think they need to make sure that Giga Austin is online and just in a good place before they start. So I'm fine with them delaying that until 2022. We obviously had the pandemic last year, which definitely may have impacted this production schedule, but I'm just fine with that. And they said Model Y production in Shanghai is getting going, and that'll be huge, but then we do have to kind of worry about S and the X being a little low in Fremont because they are just starting to produce the new versions, which takes a little while, a bit of an S curve there. And talking about solar, Elon said they will eventually be the market leader in solar. I believe they already have market leading pricing, so I think that is very good. I think solar in 2021 is going to be absolutely massive. And one of my takeaways was that some of the short-term projects, such as the in-house cell production, don't seem to be going better than expected, which is totally fine because as long as they're following the trajectory that they had planned out as outlined on Battery Day, I think it's fine that they're not ahead of schedule. But it did seem by the tone, at least by Drew and Elon, that they are not more bullish than they were at Battery Day. Maybe they're running into some challenges, but they did say that they will achieve their aforementioned goals, even maybe despite any challenges they're having currently. Alright, next I'll talk about Tesla's next generation FSD chip. So they said that their hardware 3 computer today in the cars today is not actually being fully utilized. And Elon talked a lot about video labeling and how they really need that to happen before they can max out the power of the hardware 3 chip. And that hardware 3 will be capable of full self-driving even without the 2nd generation Tesla internally developed hardware chip. But he did say that version 2 will be 3 times as powerful and be paired with higher resolution cameras. So maybe that'll increase the safety of the vehicle, but I think Tesla has been saying for a very long time now that all cars produced since 2018 will be capable of full self-driving, so I think they'll be able to work with what they have already produced, and maybe this next generation will be for increased safety or maybe better operating or something, I'm not sure, but I think they're still focused on the current hardware that is in the cars today and making that work for full self-driving. And lastly, I want to touch on Elon Musk talking about his future a few years from now, and perhaps only being the CEO of Tesla several more years, since he says nobody should be CEO forever and because it's such an insane amount of work. Personally, I'm starting to realize the reality that Elon will eventually step down to become chief product architect and still remain on the board but step away as CEO. I'm not sure, maybe I'll put out a video on who eventually could possibly become that, whether they would raise someone internally or hire from the outside, which I think would be a more challenging way to go. But I think it's definitely hard to picture Tesla without Elon at the helm. But that being said, I definitely don't think it'll be an abrupt transition. They'll let us know in advance of a year before the change were to happen, so I don't think the stock would plummet. But I think that many investors, maybe retailers as well as institutional investors, would be a little more hesitant as to how well Tesla could continue to grow in the future, or if they're turning more into a steady large cap company. So anyway, that's what I have for you today. Those are just my takeaways from the earnings call and slide deck that they put out. I'm very happy with this quarter. I think Q1 will be great. The Model S and X will be going. Shanghai with the Model Y, and Berlin is firing up. Production in Austin looks incredible. I think Tesla is really on its way to make an incredible 2021 possible. They didn't really comment on the rollout of full self-driving, but I think that we'll see the beta continue to expand in Q1, and maybe everyone else with a full self-driving package will get the software in second half of 2021, and from there it'll just be about making everything safer and justifying it to regulators. So again, I believe Tesla will cross the $1,000 mark this year in stock price, and I think if there are any true bears left, they will be crushed this year, and Tesla will become respected across the entire market once 2021 is over, as it becomes one of the biggest companies in the world. But that really is just the beginning for the company. I think it has a $10 trillion future ahead of it, but maybe I'll get more into that in the future. Until next time.